But there's an ongoing issue I think we also need to discuss is about energy and energy supplies. Beyond the subject of electricity is the subject of how much people pay at the pumps. The minority in parliament and some leaders in the minority have been raising issues with government, and even not necessarily government, the MPA, about the prices of the petroleum products at the pumps especially. Because on the international market, Brent crude is 61, but the light crude is 57
yes.
dollars per barrel.
Yeah.
Now, significantly, if we have to go by what the MPA says, using automatic adjustment formulas in determining the prices, then in many respects, Ghanaians and those who tend to use a lot more petroleum products should be paying lower prices.
Seriously, I want to deal with this on two fronts. One is the PURC. And in this particular case, Madam Nana Yajantwa, who is the PRO, and the de facto chief executive of the PURC. I seriously have an issue.
That's got nothing to do with the MPA.
Oh, it does. It does. It does. And I'm making the point. She's a de facto. She's virtually running the place. And so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you see, your comments. So I'm calling her and the board. Seriously, the president needs to look at them. We, the public, need to take a second look at them. When in September, I think 30th September, there was a price increment in electricity prices. You know the justification she gave? That we were moving the production of electricity from gas to crude because Nigeria's supply was inconsistent. Number one, let me bring to the notice of the public that we have since increased the amount we pay for the gas to Nigeria from $3 to $4. There hasn't been any improvement in the supply.
Per cubic feet?
Yes, there's not been any improvement. If the reason for changing or increasing the price was to move it from gas to crude, it means that we now have money to buy crude. Am I right? The situation
at the time.
Yes, at the time. And it should even be so now because the price since September has fallen some 40% further. So we should not have the current doom situation because we have more money to buy more crude. And seriously, that is where the government comes in. But Nana Jantua and the board of
But we're talking about
PURC,
petroleum prices, though.
yes. No, the things they are interconnected. I think they have no business being where they are. The government, the MPA, does the regulations. And the MPA's work directly has an effect. You see, if the PURC was up and doing, we would have prices, because they are constantly justifying the price hikes, the MPA keeps doing what they do. That is why I'm taking them on. But government, seriously, this economy is shrinking. We are in a crisis. You are in denial.
By what means?
Oh, if you are growing at your own budget estimate, the Statistical Service brings out the percentage of growth in 2014, 6.9%. The government itself revises it with the IMF to 4.9%. Okay? 2014. 2015, you are estimating to grow at 3.9%. There's a 1% decrease in your growth. You cannot convince me that you are doing well. The economy is shrinking. Let's allow and accept that fact. Now, what do you do with these price increases and reduction? Look, it affects you two ways. One is that your income from oil is going to reduce because you are now an oil-producing country, okay? And so on that level, you would lose some money. But you are gaining because you have kept the prices at, right now, 17 cedis a gallon of petrol. If it translates to approximately $15 a barrel, that is the cost we are paying for right now. So in actual fact, we can cut the price into half if we were to pay the actual prices for what the world price is. But we are not doing that. If the explanation from the government, for me, was that, look, we are accumulating these monies to buy more crude to run the economy and have the power crisis stop, I'm telling you a lot of Ghanaians will accept it. And I doubt the opposition will be questioning. But you are telling me that you are using the windfall to pay some debt to the bulk oil distributors. How much it is, we don't know. When, for what duration that the price you accumulated that debt, we don't know. When we are going to finish paying that debt, we don't know. Worst of it, the government has collected monies over the period. We don't know how much they've collected. Absolutely no accountability. So, how do I get convinced that the monies you've collected, you're actually using it for what you are doing? And one simple question. If today we woke up and a barrel of crude jumped to $120 a barrel, will there be any justification for an increase, further increase in prices? So there are questions that the government needs to answer. If nothing at all, come out and lay the cards bare. And let me make one thing clear. Between the 2001 and 2008, Ghana didn't have any oil. We didn't have any income from oil in the economy. And yet we were able to run. I agreed, I think between 2005 and 2007 thereabout, there were doom-so here and there. But it got managed. At the end of the day, things, and you know what, Roland, this is very critical. The country's capacity right now, we have a generation capacity of 2,900 megawatts. It's there. What we are able...
2,845.
Okay. How much are we producing? We are giving out currently 1,900. The approximate other 1,000 is hanging there because we are not able to buy crude to power the plant.
The point has been made, sir. But the truth is that, Dr. Jenapo, we've been paying for fuel or petroleum products at a price far above what averagely, if we're going by what's supposed to be an automatic adjustment formula at reaching these prices, and in many respects also creating doubts in the mind of citizenry that a lot more windfall as far as government is concerned in terms of the markup is going to government and not being accounted for.
Well, I think first of all, if I understand your question very well, you are looking at the minority's position, which states that if there's a reduction in the price of crude oil in the world market, then it should trickle down to what? A reduction in the price of what? Oil at the pump.
It's not necessarily the minority's position.
No, but I mean,
okay,
with reference to the specific
yes,
topic for discussion. And look, let's face the facts. I agree with them, in the sense that, look, my simple knowledge when it comes to economics, and especially when it comes to commodities that are bought from outside, is that when you go to pick the commodity from outside or from a producer, and the price is price A, you bring it, you give it for what? Price A1. And when you go and the price has reduced, definitely it should what? Reflect in what? A reduction in the price at the pump. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because we've had experiences whereby the price at the world market has gone up and we have to pay for it. But government is saying that there has been a challenge. And that challenge has been that they owe the bulk oil distributors and
for past
subsidies. And they use the word what? Subsidies. When I heard that, like they owe government, they owe the bulk oil distributors, I said, about if these guys go to buy the oil, they bring it to us, you sell it, then we pay for it. Then why should there be a debt? But the argument that is being made is that what? Is for subsidies. You see, my argument is this. I think when it comes to the prices of crude, there is definitely not going to be stability when it comes to the world market price. There are going to be instances where it will go up and instances where it will what? It will come down.
So,
but for the sake and purpose of planning, as a country, we should be able to come out with a mechanism that at least there can be somewhat relative stability, notwithstanding the instability in the world market. That is why, if you remember, Roland, there was this policy that was sometime initiated known as what? Hedging. And hedging basically was supposed to be a mechanism like an insurance mechanism, whereby if there's a reduction in the price of crude assets happening today, the windfall should be used to augment an increment when there's there's a price increase at the world market. And I don't know whether it worked or not. Today we are also talking of automatic adjustment or whatever it is. Look, I do not have the expertise when it comes to the economics and the market pricing and all this. But I think as a street man or as an ordinary Ghanaian, I do have the expertise when it comes to the effects of these instabilities on on my income and my purchasing power and my standard of living. You understand? I would have wished that even if government keeps the price as it is now, even though it is high, I do not expect to have an increment next year somewhere in January or February or March. You get what I'm saying? When there's an increment. So I leave it with the people who have the expertise. But at the end of the day, all these price hikes, whether it goes up or it comes down, is going to affect the fortunes of government, because government is definitely going to be held accountable for the standard of living and the economic standards of the ordinary Ghanaian.
I say with you, Doctor, where there's the lack of accountability, the communication is shrouded with some ambiguity as far as what level of information is coming out to educate the public, then it creates some level of public opinion baggage for the publicity baggage for government, don't you think?
I don't think it's about accountability. I think it's about transparency.
Okay.
It's about transparency in the sense.
It's just the semantics.
Yeah, it's about transparency.
It's about telling the people that far we owe this.
That is it.
We've used this to offset this, and as Ghanaians we have economic challenges, and so you have to bear with that.
I totally agree with you on that note, in the sense that the citizenry and the public should know how much is owed the BDCs. You know, how much is gotten out of this windfall, and how much is used to pay off or to defray the debt. In the sense that if for now there's a windfall and tomorrow or next year there's an increment, and the reason being that, look, we were using that money to pay off the debt that government, I don't think it will be fair on the part of the Ghanaian. So I would expect government to be transparent, to be open, and at least, look, governance and citizens relationship should be like a partnership. I don't see why information should not be made available or readily available to the public, because immediately you have access to information, you are better informed, and it even purges you of this whole kind of a doubt when it comes to government-citizen relationship. So
do I get the point from you, from your own utterances and observations, that you feel government is putting itself in so much a tight corner, but perhaps not relaying so much information as it should?
I wouldn't jump to that conclusion, in the sense that I think there's an agency, and Richard rightly pointed out, is it this lady, Nana Janto? Yeah. She's the public relations officer. Most often she comes out to give out information, but the government is better positioned to know the strategy that is using. And I wouldn't want to jump on a conclusion that, look, by the strategy that is being used by government as we speak is to its disadvantage. But I would expect and hope that at least there's a lot more transparency, and there should be, readily flow of information with specific reference to this particular issue of fuel prices in terms of the world market coming down, money being used to defray the debt that is owed to this bulk BDCs, how much is owed, how much is being paid, how much is gotten. I think it's inures to the benefit of government when the citizenry know what it's doing.
Prior to the close of yesterday, I had some critics also saying that the NPP was making a meal out of this, or making political capital out of this. And well, we're getting into the political season, and from next year the heat will be on government in many respects. But as far as we're concerned, do you think that government comes out and says, well, because we owe the BDCs, Ghanaians need to sacrifice in many respects?
You see,
and despite the prices being low, we also need to have a lot more markup.
Look,
and get some windfall.
Dog is talking about transparency.
And defray whatever that's.
No, you can do all that. It depends on the level to which you level with the citizen, okay? Be transparent, that is the word. I remember when Kufuor came into government, we had promised how we were going to cut down fuel prices. Then he came and he said, oh, I didn't know the situation when I was in opposition. I've realized how tough it is.
Was that being transparent?
Yes. Oh, yes, that is being transparent. And that, look, the situation is really tough, and we'll have to tighten our belts. We'll do things differently. But I'll be on the same page with you. And as much as possible, he tried that, and it helped. There were
prior to 2000, he tried subsidizing in many respects that government's coffers couldn't.
Yes. You see, what is happening currently? I remember, I think in July, there was a price increase in the pump, at the pump, okay? Then what was the explanation? The, it must have been even in February instead. The increment was actually put at the doorstep of the CD dollar depreciation, okay? Then it was almost 4 cedis to a dollar. Today it is 3 cedis, 20 pesos on the average to the dollar. So they will have some reduction of between 6 and 8 cedis, 0.8 cedis to the dollar as a result. That is in itself a windfall, okay? Then I'm talking of we having a barrel, or we paying for the barrel equivalent of $115, which is currently running at $57, okay?
That's a light crude.
Light crude. You average it, $60. Let's take this.
61, Brent 61.
Okay, light crude, Brent, 67 plus, 57 plus 61. You strike the average, you're getting around $59, okay?
59.
Yes, so point is that you are making some $50 an average on each barrel. Come to the pump, making between 4 and 5 cedis every gallon that I buy at the pump. Now you would have to explain to me why I should continue to give government 5 cedis per gallon of fuel that I buy. You haven't given me that explanation. We owe this much. When we are going to pay, we can pay this till the kingdom come. We cannot continue to do business that way. So for me, government has not given a very good reason why we should keep paying this. I think if things continue this way, I foresee a street march, the demonstration, a revolution or whatever to get the government. Look, the taxi drivers went on. Yes, no, to get them to do it, because apparently it seems the president only bows to pressure when there is a lot of hue and cry and public demonstration. When there's a demonstration. And when he was granting an interview to, I think, Al Jazeera yesterday, he actually pointed to the fact that we may have to continue doing this even if the public, so he himself is anticipating, even if the public is going to go against it. But you are not giving us any assuaging that the situation would in any way improve.
I mean, yes. The point is, this is not the first time that we're going to have an argument about fuel prices. You remember prior to 2008, fuel prices were high, and we relatively had the same scenario. Of course, not as low as we're having it. Then, well, the NDC in opposition at the time, prior to the election, made all the noise. After the first round, the Kufuor administration reduced prices. Well, that also created some loathing for the government and said, well, if you could have reduced it before the election, why didn't you? Why are you not doing it?
The Kufuor administration
do you understand? Do you understand? So, what do you think now we need to have a serious debate about the energy issues and then the issues about petroleum pricing, and at which time we need to peg the pricing, and what sacrifices that the ordinary Ghanaian needs to make in the milieu of the economic difficulties that Ghanaians are facing?
I think, first of all, in 2007, I happened not to be around, so I didn't get the opportunity of experiencing what happened in the 2008 elections.
I'm telling you.
But the point is this, Roland. You see, when it comes to increments in prices of petroleum prices, it affects the totality of the economy. There's no doubt about it. It affects the cost of living, it affects cost of production, and it even has a direct correlation with what? Inflation. And my worry is this, it looks as if, as a country, as you asked the question, should we have the debate? We've had the debates for so many years, but we haven't been able to arrive at a conclusion.
So what should we be doing?
I'm getting there. A meaningful conclusion that will at least try to address this fundamental issue, in the sense that when you have a system whereby, as to quote Kwesi Pratt Jr.'s story, I mean, where we have an apampum store kind of a business, and it's not with the NDC, it's happened even with the NPP. You made reference to 2007, where you just go to the world market, buy crude at a price, you bring it based on the price that you buy it, then you sell it to the consumer. Tomorrow, when there's an increase in price, then the same thing happens. It affects your economy, and it doesn't help when it comes to planning. So my argument is that, as a people, there needs to be a bipartisan approach, an approach between Richard Nyama and the NDC, based on their ideas, to sit down and come out with a pragmatic, realistic, futuristic approach, something that is sustainable. Something that is sustainable.
Dr. Kamnadonko says he's going to do that.
No, it should be applauded.
Yes.
Honestly, it should be applauded. Look, I am of the school of thought that at the end of the day, in this country, when there's success notwithstanding which government or president is in power, you and I, no matter your political affiliation, benefit from it. Yeah. If today, are you listening, Richard? If today there is a reduction in cost of living, at the end of the day, money in your pocket is going to be as equal as an NDC person. Yeah. So if today Dr. Kamnadonko is saying that, look, he wants an approach whereby he's going to bring NDC and NPP experts together to solve our energy crisis, I applaud him 100%. I applaud him. Yeah. Because we can't be living in a country whereby every day there's light of when it doesn't discriminate whether you're NDC or NPP.
Oh, it does. It does.
Come on, don't be overly. I mean, you discriminate where it's NDC and MPP.
I'm telling you, the areas where the lights goes off consistently. I know what I'm telling you. And where it doesn't go off,
we have NDC area.
In your area, it doesn't go off consistently. In your area, it doesn't go off consistently.
I would say,
I know where you live.
Yes.
It doesn't go off consistently.
I have a very prominent neighbor, and so I'm not doing badly. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
You're going to take this.
I'm saying that I have a very prominent neighbor.
Richard, that's not fair.
I have a very prominent neighbor, and as a result, I don't get the lights out. I haven't mentioned the person.
No, you are saying that there are places that NPP places, lights goes off, and NDC down.
I'm saying that when the person is important and he's located in an area, the lights out there is less.
I disagree.
I am enjoying it, and I'm telling you.
So NPP people are getting lights.
No. He's an NDC person, but I'm NPP.
It just happens to be
within the neighbor. Who you know?
Who you know? But on a more serious note, on a more serious note, I think as a people and as a country, it's about time I mean, this country is overly polarized on political grounds, on political lines.
Reiterating what he said.
No, it's overly polarized, and I don't think it helps. Look, whether you like it or not, we are going to have NDC and NPP winning elections.
Look, but we will get there. It's a developmental process. You know something? Let's not jump the gun. The U.S. and the U.S. we are talking about. We're talking about. The U.S. has been practicing democracy over 200 years. They went through all these steps. For me, seriously, we cannot jump. You cannot start running when you haven't crawled. We will get there. But the polarization at the point. Have you realized that Ghanaians are getting fed up with the polarization? At a point, it will be non-political. You yourself cannot come out and
So when are you going on the demonstration?
No, I don't think that demonstration, I don't think it's
all right, so we have to end our discussion this morning. A lecturer is with us, Dr. Ahmed Jinapo, and thanks for joining me. Okay, he's a teacher. And with the MPP is Richard Nyama.
I'm also a teacher, so please
a teacher. Always in and out of the court. Suing the Republic.
By profession. I mean,
suing entities in the Republic. Well, we're taking a break. When we come back, Mama Viusu Abwaje will be speaking to DSP Cephas Arthur. We're speaking on the subject of security this very Yuletide. Do stay. All right, back.